Steph and Starbear here. Starbear and I both have diagnosed ADHD. Starbear is an 8th grader and I am an 8th grade teacher. And today we're talking about realities of 504s. So Starbear, before we can talk about you next episode, and how to help you in school, how to help and support you in the school setting, I need to have a conversation with our audience about legal documents, okay? Okay. Hello, everybody. So you got a psychiatric evaluation. Your child has ADHD. You have all the paperwork. It's a pretty thick packet per se. So now what? Okay, you call the school and you call a meeting perhaps for 504. The regular ed teacher is invited, the school counselor is invited, the paperwork's invited, the family's invited, and the student is invited to talk about this. Many of you are getting confused, though, with the difference between an IEP and a 504. So an IEP is Individual Education Plan that is created in a special education setting. And those settings can either be like one class period, they're pulled out for study skills, for academic support, social skills. They might be pulled out 2 or 3 or half of the day for that support because they need it. It could be a full day because they need it. It depends on the setting and the child's needs. So that IEP is pretty thick, right? It can be anywhere from 6 to 12 pages, I guess, depending on the disability. A 504 plan is typically 1 to 2 pages. So the requirement for an IEP has a disability that meets criteria under Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, requires specialized services. The requirements for a 504 has a disability that significantly impacts a major life function. Again, most of the time, this is from a clinical doctor of some sort, psychologist, or a psychiatrist. In ADHD, it would be a psychiatrist. ADHD is a brain issue. It's not a mood issue. It's not a behavioral issue. It is a brain issue. So what's included? Specialized education service. You'd have a case manager and more adults to support you in special ed. In a 504 plan, it's just the regular ed teacher that provides accommodations and modifications. Age limit. An IEP in special ed is mostly offered through 12th grade. You may have a time where it transitions to like an adult level specialized school. And there are no age limit for getting a 504. You can get a 504 in a workplace also. Where is the plan used? This one's through 12th grade. An IEP does not transfer to college, but a 504 will transfer. I also need to say that these documents, when you do after-school clubs in another setting or a sport, if your coach is nice, they might want to know, or not even nice. Like if they want to work with like the whole child, maybe it would be great to tell them in advance that my child has a 504 or an IEP. That's up to you. But a coach does not have to follow an IEP or a 504. Okay. You as the parent and the child, I would find a sport or some type of activity that your child enjoys and can feel successful at. That's what I would do. But for school, we're talking about school now. Here's an example of a 504. So, does the student have a physical or mental impairment which substantially limits a major life activity? And then you would describe it. Is written verification of disability on file? And then you would go through and we would try to figure out some accommodations or adaptations for your child to help them be successful in a school setting. So let's talk about inattentive ADHD on a 504 plan. Okay, I do want to talk about this because regular education teachers we get frustrated with these plans. And I'll tell you why. So the people who your child has met with, a psychiatrist, a psychologist, they get your child one-on-one. You as a family see your child in a small group setting. Special ed even has small group settings. So when you make recommendations for the regular ed teacher, where's my phone? Sorry, one second. When you make recommendations, when your psychiatrist makes recommendations for us and they're like 5 pages long, we get annoyed because your psychiatrist, your psychologist, and you probably aren't teachers, like regular ed teachers. So you're not understanding that we have anywhere from 28 to 40 kids in a classroom 6 times a day. We all think our children are special and unique. We're Americans. We believe in the individual. But we need to have this realistic discussion about what your teachers, how they can support your child. Because right now it's getting way off track and unrealistic, and teachers are quitting because the amount of accommodations and modifications that are required of them. And it's not okay. So I want to address that today. So I'm going to first start with what we can't do. And then I'm going to end with what we can do in regular ed. Please listen to us and our feedback. A lot of times, you're leaving your regular education teacher out. So please include them because it's going to be a reality check. And here it comes. Here's a typical regular ed class of 35 students. In your grade book, what I would see is 35 kids, and I might see a little symbol, or their font the name would be highlighted in a different color. So I could be able to tell, okay, so I should give some special attention to this child. So here's typically what I get, okay, or a regular ed teacher gets. Let's say there's a class of 35. In the black font, that's a child with ADHD. So Joey, D'Angelo, and you can't see this, Maria has ADHD. Okay, red font are my ELL students, English language learners. Stephanie, Stace, Mohammed. So I know that I need to give some language supports when I'm creating lessons. Blue are my special ed kids, Angus, Cynthia. They might have an adult in the classroom. Hopefully they do. They might not though. Allergies, purple font. Lexi and Malachi have allergies. Maybe it's to peanuts, seafood, so I've got to be mindful of that. And finally, green is my homeless, highly mobile child who is Henry in this class. Now, students in white, they might be going through family divorces. They might have a death in the family or someone's ill. They all have massive amounts of hormones going through them. So just to be clear, when you hand me these recommendations for accommodations and modifications, and it's a huge list, there are other children in my classroom also who need support, right? So I'm not going to get to all of those accommodations that Joey's psychiatrist recommended. Here is what I have heard, and you're going to see a lot of WTFs on it. I could do some of this stuff if I was a special ed teacher. But now that I'm regular ed, and I've done both, I'm not doing this. I'm not letting the child turn in all missing assignments in at the end of the quarter because that child gets a dopamine rush for procrastinating. No, that's not realistic to me. It's not fair to me when I have 150 to 200 students to be like, okay, Joey, don't do any work all quarter and then here, just dump it all on me. No, not realistic. I will not walk your child from class to make sure they get there on time because of their ADHD and time management. I will not do that. Not okay. I've also heard that one. Allow your child to do their work during my lunch hour in my classroom because it's quiet. No, I need a break from kids. I'm going to go nuts. I will not stay after school with your child to get extra support. I have my own family, and many of your teachers have families. That's called specialized after-school programming. You should sign up or get a tutor. I will not allow your child to create their own guided project because they are so creative and imaginative. True facts, they are creative and imaginative. But I won't let them create their own project. I've tried this before with kids with inattentive ADHD. It does not work because they struggle with self-starting and keeping organized on their own project, and then they just quit. Because again, the gap is in time management and organization. They need supports. So I will allow them within a project I created to choose the way they will showcase it. I will not create individualized notes of a lesson for you and your child. I won't do that. I have too much to do. No. I will not allow them to use their phone or music and put it on a 504 plan because with inattentive ADHD, that is the distraction that I'm trying to avoid. They will not listen to me. Oh, well, they will. No, they don't. I will not give them break passes to the library or somewhere with limited distractions. In middle school, especially 8th grade, they are notorious for using an excuse to go meet up with their friends and screw around. No. I will not allow them to miss my class and go to another space because there are too many distractions in our classroom. I will not do that. I will not create and go through an independent checklist daily just specialized for them. I will not provide parents with a copy of all of their assignments for the day and week. I teach a content class. That would mean that I am asking all of the teachers who have no time whatsoever to collect all the information for one child. No, not happening. I am not going to communicate with you 2 to 3 times a week about their grades and assignments. I am not a case manager. This is not special education. So if you want all these accommodations and adaptations for your child with ADHD, I would ask for a special education evaluation. And let's say they get evaluated and they're not in special education, then homeschool your child. They'll get the individualized focus you want. But in a school setting, a lot of these recommendation your psychiatrist is throwing at us, and they get the parents worked up like they have to do this. Their recommendations, a lot of them aren't realistic in the classroom today. So here, I'm going to talk positively now. Joey, D'Angelo, and Maria are highlighted on my gradebook. Here's what I will do for them. I will have an awareness and understanding of the 504 before the school year starts. I will give these students more time than others for positive relationships and check in with them, even in the hallway with a smile and sincere conversations. I will provide an organizational checklist geared for all students who struggle with organization, not necessarily ADHD. I will sit that student near the front or the center, away from as many distractions as possible. I may use a private signal to remind the student to pay attention. I will chunk parts of their assignments. I will use visuals in the classroom for due dates and deadlines. They can use some headphones, noise blockers during independent time, not while I'm teaching. And I will remind your child about the deadline. I will extend homework assignment dates up to a week. I will give 1 to 2 minutes of wrap-up time so they can get reorganized. I will discuss behavior or academic organization, maybe in private rather than in front of people. Another thing before we leave, I will model stress management and growth mindset. And I will allow note cards or visuals during public speaking maybe because their thoughts get lost. I will provide sentence stems for writing. So these are things I can do. All right. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.